San Francisco 49ers on the road at the Washington Commanders. 13.5-14 is your number on the 49ers. 49.5-50. So, Steven, we thought this was going to be Jacoby Brissett. It still might be for the Commanders, but he woke up with hamstring tightness here on a Friday and is now listed as questionable. And if he can't go, they will go back to Sam Howell. I don't know how much that plays into people's handicaps. I certainly, if I wanted to back the Commanders, would much rather have Brissett out there than Howell. This offense is at least looks somewhat spunky whenever he's out there, as opposed to it looks like everyone's just kind of quit on Sam Howell. That said, with not knowing, can't really do one way or the other. Do you have an angle on this one?
I did lay it with the Niners, which is typically something I wouldn't do with such a big road favorite. It's a kind of a bad thing to do long-term in betting the NFL. However, I think we have a motivated 49ers team to lock up the 1 seed this week, get some rest going into the playoffs. You can get 2 weeks of rest here if they win this week and lock it up. If it is Brissett, I think this goes back down under 13. That's what we saw earlier in the week. So if you're interested in the Niners, I would just wait to see if it is. If it's Howell, anything under 14 is fine for me here with the Niners. I don't care. I think Washington has quit. I am discouraged by what I saw with Brock Purdy because it seems that any random week the turnover-worthy plays could turn into turnovers, but this is also one of the bottom 2 defenses in the NFL for Washington right there with Arizona. And the Niners, despite the turnovers, I'm not excusing them, but they still had close to 8 yards per play against that Ravens defense at halftime before the game got away from them, and there was no coming back from it. So Trent Williams looks like he's okay. He was limited in practice. It was a good sign with his groin. Purdy looks like he's good to go. So they're healthy. I think they could put up whatever number they want in this game.
Adam, it's a 49ers team that should rebound very nicely here off of the game last week. That said, it is still got to win by 2 touchdowns in the NFL. Winning by 2 touchdowns in the NFL is not always easy. What do you say here for 49ers Commanders?
If you are listening to this on anything faster than like 1 1/4 speed, I'm going to encourage you right now to bring this down to either even speed or 1 1/4, because I don't want you to miss a single moment of what I'm about to say. It's that important. Okay, good. If you downgraded the San Francisco 49ers 1 iota, a half a point off that performance last week, you're wrong. The San Francisco 49ers had all of the flukiest things go against them. Oh, Brock Purdy threw 4 interceptions. His arm got hit on one of them. He had a tip ball on another. And I will give you that he probably should have seen Kyle Hamilton coming on the one in the end zone, and then on the one that he threw back across the middle of the field. That's a bad idea. However, with this team, odds are he gets away with that more often than not. Do not downgrade the San Francisco 49ers off what you saw last week. Steven just talked about the yards per play. I went back and watched this game because I wanted to see a second time, like, what actually went wrong here? Short fields and defensive help from the Ravens made that the point score that it ended up being. Frankly, I felt pretty good about getting the over in that one. I don't know that I necessarily deserved to get the over, even though the yards per play were way up. Pass on this game. I don't want to get involved with trying to figure out if the Washington offense is good, because we've seen games where they're perfectly able to chase, and we've seen games where they completely give up. I don't want to get involved in that either way. I'll say one more thing, and then I'll let this thing go. So much talk of Purdy the MVP, McCaffrey the MVP. He's never going to get voted. He's never going to be in the conversation. But the one player that if you take him away from San Francisco, they become an absolute mid-team is Trent Williams. And we've seen it over and over and over again. He might be the single most important player to any one team's chances when it comes to who's going to win the Super Bowl.
I will say, Steven, if we do get the bump back down, because right now where the spread sits, team total is going to be 32 or 31, 32, something like that. So like those obviously numbers, 31 key number when it comes to just scores in general. If you get a 30.5 I think a 30.5 is pretty interesting from an over on a team total standpoint for the 49ers, but we need that spread to drop back down. So just hopefully Brissett is able to go and we do get this thing under 13. If that's the case, I think you get a much juicier team total on the 49ers, which will be my angle, but I have to sit back and wait and see if that actually ends up coming to fruition in all of that.